Good afternoon, spaceflight enthusiasts. If you've been following this channel, you know I don't hold back when it comes to humanity's future in space. Today I'm looking at an article from Futura Sciences titled Surviving on Mars: Why Reality is Far Harsher Than in the Movies. And let me tell you, this article is pure defeatist propaganda disguised as science. It's a perfect example of the kind of narrative pushed by certain popular scientists claiming that Mars will kill you within minutes. According to them, any attempt to colonize Mars would be a disaster, with the planet offering no refuge, just a cold, hostile environment where survival is impossible. But I'm here to break this down piece by piece, because I believe that while Mars may indeed be harsher than Earth in some respects, that doesn't mean we should throw in the towel. We just need to think smarter, engineer better, and make Mars our second home. And here's the truth: sooner or later, Earth will face a catastrophic event that could wipe us out, whether it's an asteroid impact, a nuclear war, or a supervolcano like the one that nearly destroyed life 252 million years ago. If we don't become a multi-planetary species by then, it might be the end of humanity. Earth might recover, life will return, but humanity could be reduced to a mere footnote in the fossil record. So let's dive into this article that paints Mars as an uninhabitable wasteland. We've heard these arguments before, and they're about to be torn apart. This topic of colonizing Mars is nothing new. We've discussed it here before, but with the increasing number of mainstream scientists chiming in, it's time for another round. These voices say Mars is a terrible backup for Earth. They point out the many obstacles to human survival on the red planet, such as its harsh conditions, lack of atmosphere, and poisonous soil. But is it as bad as they make it sound? Let's look at these so-called impossible challenges. Science fiction has fueled the idea of humans living on Mars for years, and while movies like The Martian are often cited, they mostly focus on short-term survival. But what if we were talking about long-term habitation? What would it really take for humans to survive and even thrive on Mars? It's important to remember that scientists like the late Carl Sagan envisioned the future where humans could make Mars their new home. In the 1980s and 90s, Sagan argued that if there were no life on Mars, humans could become the Martians. So let's not just dismiss the possibility of colonizing the red planet. Sure, there are significant challenges, but that doesn't mean it's an impossible dream. I mean, think about it. Can you survive on Mars, where radiation levels are so high you can't even step outside without facing certain death? Or what about the fact that you'd be stuck in a pressure suit every moment of your life? Let's start with one of the biggest fears: radiation. Every article on Mars colonization mentions this as the main showstopper. Mars has no magnetic field, its atmosphere is thin, and cosmic rays and solar flares could fry any human exposed to them. NASA's data from the Curiosity rover suggests that spending just 500 days on Mars would give you a radiation dose that's close to an astronaut's lifetime limit. Now, while this sounds alarming, let's break it down. The effects of radiation are often exaggerated. Yes, it's dangerous, but it's not an immediate death sentence. In one study, an individual was exposed to 64 sieverts of radiation over 21 years, a theoretical amount of radiation that would kill most people. But this exposure was spread out over a long period. So the effects of radiation might be more gradual than catastrophic, mostly increasing the risk of cancer. What this article and many scientists conveniently ignore is the fact that we can shield ourselves from radiation. Mars offers some of the best natural shelters available. Lava tubes. These aren't small, cramped tunnels. We're talking about massive underground caverns formed by ancient volcanic flows. These tubes can house entire cities, providing a stable temperature, protection from micrometeorites, and, most importantly, radiation shielding. There are ready-made shelters that Mars has already given us. In fact, NASA has been mapping these tubes for years, and they've proven to be the ultimate radiation bunkers. But let's say you don't want to live underground all the time. Mars also has trillions of tons of water, ice, polar caps, glaciers, and subsurface deposits perfect for radiation shielding. Water is one of the best substances to block cosmic rays. We could use it to build walls around our habitats, effectively lowering the radiation exposure to safe levels. This isn't science fiction. This is a practical solution we already know how to implement. So, when the article talks about radiation as an insurmountable barrier, it's missing the point. We already have the technology and resources to protect ourselves. Now, let's address another common issue: Mars's gravity. The article dismisses the possibility of humans thriving in Mars' low gravity, claiming it would cause bone loss, muscle atrophy, and cardiovascular problems. Mars has about 38% of Earth's gravity, and many scientists argue that this makes it uninhabitable. But this claim is not as clear-cut as it seems. Research on animals in reduced gravity has shown that Mars-like gravity actually causes less muscle and bone loss than microgravity, such as that experienced on the International Space Station. While there's still a lot to learn, we know that with proper exercise, we can counteract these effects. Studies show that people in reduced gravity environments experience far less muscle loss than those in zero gravity, and this could be the same for humans on Mars. And think about this: living in 38% gravity could be an exciting opportunity. Instead of worrying about the negative effects, we could use this as a chance to explore new ways of moving and playing. Imagine extreme sports on Mars, gymnastics in slow motion, or even parkour in a low-gravity environment. The possibilities are endless. Mars's gravity won't be a death sentence. It could be a playground, a place to discover new forms of movement and athleticism. The people who go to Mars won't just be surviving. They'll be evolving, adapting to new environments and ways of living. But the challenges don't end there. There's the issue of the poisonous soil, the extreme temperatures, and the psychological effects of isolation. Living on Mars won't be easy, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Let's talk about Mars' atmosphere and its temperatures. Mars has an atmosphere that's 95% carbon dioxide, with only a fraction of the pressure we have on Earth. The average temperature hovers around -80 degrees Fahrenheit, with nights dropping to -125 degrees Fahrenheit. And don't get me started on the dust storms. Step outside unprotected and you'll die in seconds. Yes, it's harsh, but that doesn't mean we can't handle it. The first human colonies in Antarctica, the deep ocean, or even the top of Mount Everest weren't exactly easy either. The key to survival is habitat construction. NASA's MOXIE experiment has already demonstrated the ability to extract oxygen from Mars's carbon dioxide atmosphere. The technology exists to create sustainable habitats. We'll recycle air, water, and resources. Sure, it's a challenge, but humans are problem solvers. We don't give up when faced with tough problems. We get to work. And about the dust and the toxic perchlorates in the soil, they can be dealt with. The soil on Mars might be poisonous, but we can wash it. We can use the abundant water on Mars to cleanse the soil and make it safe for farming. But it gets better. We can use microbes to help process the soil and turn it into construction material. Scientists have already proven that this works. They've also found bacteria on Earth that consume perchlorates and produce oxygen as a byproduct. We can use these bacteria to turn Martian soil into a resource for oxygen and construction materials. It's not impossible, it's just hard. And we're engineers, not quitters. The psychological aspects of living on Mars also pose a challenge. The isolation, the 2-0-minute communication delay, and the lack of a quick rescue option are all serious concerns. But we've faced these kinds of challenges before. The Apollo missions had their own psychological hurdles, and submariners endure months of isolation too. People adapt. Humans form close-knit communities. And with advancements in VR and communication technologies, the feeling of isolation will become less of a problem. In the future, Martian colonists will have regular family visits via VR, high-bandwidth communication systems, and the support of a tight-knit crew. Yes, it will be hard, but it's not an insurmountable barrier. Humans are incredibly adaptable. As we've gone through these so-called insurmountable challenges, radiation, gravity, poisonous soil, and isolation, it's clear that none of these are impossible to overcome. But let's shift focus for a moment. Let's talk about Mars itself. What if we are looking at it all wrong? Mars doesn't have to be the cold, barren rock that so many people think it is. In fact, Mars could be one of the most awe-inspiring places we've ever been. A new world full of wonders that Earth simply can't offer. Mars is a planet with scale, true, mind-boggling scale. Take Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system. It's 3 times the height of Mount Everest, and its base is the size of Arizona. Imagine standing on the rim of this colossal volcano and looking across a landscape that stretches farther than the eye can see. Or picture yourself standing at the edge of the Valles Marineris, the Grand Canyon of Mars, which is over 4,000 kilometers long, 10 times the length of the Grand Canyon on Earth. It's up to 200 kilometers wide and 7 to 11 kilometers deep. You could drop the entire Himalayas into this canyon and still have room left over. And the wonders don't stop there. Imagine watching the moons of Mars, Phobos, and Deimos racing across the sky as you stand at the edge of the canyon. Or picture yourself standing at the Hellas Basin, the deepest impact crater in the solar system. Mars is full of these epic, larger-than-life features that dwarf anything we have on Earth. The scale of the place is truly mind-blowing. The challenges of Mars are real, but the sense of awe that will drive colonists to push through these difficulties is just as real. Mars is not a cold, lifeless rock. It's a brand new world that offers opportunities we can't even begin to imagine yet. And here's something else that the defeatists never mention. Mars might not just be a place to survive, but a place to thrive. A recent article from Universe Today highlights something incredible. A Mars colony could become a hydrogen factory, providing fuel for missions throughout the solar system. Hydrogen is one of the most abundant elements in the universe, and Mars has an incredible source of it: water ice. Satellites have detected over 5 million cubic kilometers of water ice on Mars, and that's just the start. If we set up a colony on Mars, we could tap into this hydrogen supply and create fuel for rocket propellant. This would not only make Mars a vital resource hub for space missions, but also create a self-sustaining economy that powers humanity's expansion across the solar system. Dr. Mika Shubov from the University of Massachusetts has suggested that Mars could become a hydrogen-producing colony, but only once the surrounding economy is strong enough to support it. He suggests that when we have around 10,000 people living on Mars, we could start extracting hydrogen on a large scale. This hydrogen could be used to fuel rockets, satellites, and space stations. The best part? Mars's lower gravity means it would take less fuel to transport hydrogen from Mars to Earth orbit than it would from Earth's surface. This could revolutionize the economics of space travel, making it cheaper and faster to expand throughout the solar system. Now, let's talk about the potential future of humanity on Mars beyond just survival. If we're to truly consider Mars as a future home for humankind, we need to look at its role in a broader context, not just as an isolated outpost, but as a launchpad for expanding into the rest of the solar system. Mars holds the key to humanity's future in space in ways we haven't fully realized yet. It's not just about having a backup planet in case Earth becomes uninhabitable. No, it's about Mars fueling the growth of a multi-planetary society, one that can explore, trade, and even mine resources from other parts of the solar system. Mars could play a critical role in the expansion of humanity's reach across the cosmos. Its location in the solar system makes it uniquely positioned to provide fuel and resources to support future missions to the outer planets and beyond. This idea is already being explored, with the potential for Mars to become a hydrogen factory. By extracting water from Mars's polar ice caps and converting it into hydrogen, we could create a sustainable fuel source that could be used for rockets, satellites, and even interplanetary space stations. This hydrogen could be crucial for long-duration missions to the outer planets. It could power space stations, like the Gateway, NASA's planned orbital outpost that will serve as a staging point for missions to the Moon and beyond. Hydrogen is an incredibly efficient fuel, and Mars, with its weak gravity well and abundant ice, could become a key player in the solar system's future infrastructure. Imagine a scenario where Mars is supplying fuel to not only missions in the inner solar system, but to expeditions that venture out toward the outer reaches of space. Mars could become the hub of an entirely new space economy. The hydrogen could also be used for propulsion systems, making interplanetary travel cheaper and faster. Mars could essentially become the gas station for humanity's future space missions. And once we establish a robust infrastructure for hydrogen extraction, we could use Mars resources to power the entire solar system, making space travel more sustainable and accessible than ever before. This is the kind of vision that makes Mars not just a refuge for humanity, but an essential stepping stone in our journey across the stars. Mars is also the perfect place to experiment with new technologies that could support long-term space exploration. If we can make Mars habitable, even on a small scale, it will prove that we can adapt and survive in even the most extreme environments. It's not just about surviving on Mars. It's about developing technologies that can be used throughout the solar system. The lessons we learn from living on Mars will be invaluable as we look toward other planets and moons, such as Europa or Enceladus, which could harbor the conditions necessary for life. And let's not forget about the role that Mars could play in future space industries. With its abundance of resources, including water, ice, CO2, and even metals like iron, Mars could become a critical hub for resource mining and manufacturing. Imagine a future where we're building spacecraft and space stations directly on Mars, using the materials it provides. This would dramatically reduce the cost of space exploration, as we wouldn't need to launch everything from Earth. Mars could become the first off-Earth industrial base, setting the stage for an economy that spans the entire solar system. But of course, none of this will happen overnight. We are talking about decades of research, development, and infrastructure building. The first steps are already being taken, with missions to Mars already providing crucial data on its atmosphere, climate, and geology. NASA's Perseverance rover is exploring the surface, searching for signs of ancient life, and testing technologies that could one day be used to produce oxygen and water from the Martian environment. Meanwhile, private companies like SpaceX are working on technologies to transport humans to Mars and build sustainable habitats. The road to Mars is long, but every step we take brings us closer to making this dream a reality. The technology exists, we just need to develop it. Yes, the challenges are significant, but they are not insurmountable. With innovation, determination, and collaboration, we can overcome the obstacles that stand in our way. And when we do, we will not just have survived on Mars, we will have thrived. So is it worth it? Absolutely. The idea of Mars as a hellish tin can is a narrow, pessimistic view of what humanity's future could be. Mars is not a death sentence. It's an opportunity to secure humanity's place in the universe, to create a second home, and to fuel the expansion of our species into the cosmos. We don't colonize Mars because it's easy. We do it because it's necessary. The future of humanity depends on it. And the sooner we get started, the sooner we'll make this dream a reality. If you believe in the potential of Mars and space exploration, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think about humanity's future on Mars. If you're passionate about this cause and want to help support the channel, consider becoming a patron or clicking the join button to get access to exclusive content and early releases. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay angry about space.